Hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to
The
The
truth.
truth
Behind
behind
the
the truth.
Truth, the ending of a year,
Mm,
the year in 25. Oh my goodness.
yes,
Wow. Can you believe
yes.
it?
Almost down to the
It
wire.
is. I mean, we are, what, less than 48 hours for the change.
Mm.
I mean, even though we, as they always say, what was it, the Mayans or whatever they say you can, or that's the calendar that we follow, the Mayans calendar. Isn't that right, Charles?
Mm.
The Mayans,
I think
yeah.
is that right?
I think
The
Yeah,
so.
but
Mayans,
we've been kind of
yeah,
deviating
Mayans.
for the last 10 years.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's and everything. Some of the stuff we'll talk about tonight in our year in review of what has been and all of the above. But we want to welcome you guys tonight. Glad to have our brother back. Not back. We just been entertaining family. Been up in
Yes,
the Chicago.
yes. How cold is it in Chicago, Charles?
Well, the last couple of weeks it was -9, but today it's 24.
Oh
Oh,
boy.
nice.
Oh,
You got a warm. You got
Mhm.
a warm spell.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
You got a warm up. Yeah. Anytime you went from a degree higher, you got a little warmer. From 20 to 22.
Oh, yeah.
That's what makes it good. That is, I still, if there was a place, I still love Chicago. I love Chicago just much. Well, I love LA, but LA's kind of third on the rank right now. But I know he's a little bit different than that. But I would take number one. I would take New York if we were in Manhattan at Central Park West. And in the theater district. Okay, then I would be extremely happy to be in New York City. You know, but I think the fact of having to travel in as isn't anything, I'm like, oh, gotta get on the train, blah 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 blah, and all that. But Chicago, man, it's just like you just get on the L and head right downtown. You there? You know what I mean? One
Yep.
one stop shop. But yeah, and Chicago's very beautiful in spite of all of the issues of the crime element that they say that's there and goes on or whatever. That's different areas of the city, but those different areas of the city just get the bad rap all the time.
Hmm.
It's on the certain side of the
A
city.
certain side of the city. Because when I spent such a great element of time there, I think I told you guys that the last part of mom's life was in Chicago with my brother, and I was out in Downers Grove all the time,
Mm.
outside of the city. So Downers is just like suburban LA, suburban any city. It's not like in all of its love, but I like Chicago. I like the vibe of Chicago. Food is like off the chain.
Yeah, there you go. There you
you
go.
know, back in the day, now look, back in the day when the clubbing was up, oh my gosh, Chicago was the place of house music. Woo! I'm telling you, it
That's
still
it.
is though. In a lot of areas, it just has changed up quite a bit. But yeah, Chicago was a place, y'all. It really was. But anyway, how's your holiday been so far, Charles? I mean, with the family and everything.
It's been pretty good. I've done some things here that I haven't done before. You can live in a city forever and never go places. I'm here on the south side where I was born
Yeah,
and
this is
raised.
true.
Yeah, and I went downtown
Uh-huh.
and actually, because of a young lady I spent time with, she wanted to go down and do the architectural lake ride. Even though it was 20 degrees, we went down. And even my family's like,
Okay.
"You can go by yourself. We're not going." But we went down there. We rode the river, and I learned some things that even as a native Chicagoan, I had no idea happened. So they gave history. It was a nice ride,
Okay.
and you know, this is what I tell people all the time. You can live in a city your whole life and never venture out your neighborhood. And that's so common amongst our citizens of everywhere
This is
from Memphis
true.
to New Orleans
This
to
is true.
whatever. We never venture out our neighborhood. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
And that's so important.
it is very unfortunate. I mean, I live here in LA. There's so much of LA I haven't seen at all, to
Yeah,
be
no,
honest
that's
with
right.
you. And there's so much of activity that I have not participated in since we've been living here.
Right.
And my only excuse is my job, and that's one thing I can say is the excuse of not being able to get away and do certain things, because things have to, necessities have to be paid and things have to be done. And the saddest thing about situations like you just said, Charles, you can live in the city all your life and not even experience. We have been to New York, and there have been people in New York that don't even go to Broadway shows.
Yeah, that is so amazing.
They don't do Broadway. They don't really do too much of anything of that type of situation. It's all around. I mean, it be off Broadway shows. They don't do that. They don't go see stuff of that nature. And it's all around them.
Right.
So it's just the fact that, and it's just, people, they do what they think. I don't know. All I know is for my experience of just living within my 38 years of living, it's always going to be work. Is always going to take up so much of my time. That's going to take up too much of my time. And it's a choice that, I hate that I've had to make. But then on top of that, how we gonna survive in this up and coming year? I mean, we leave in 1 year of uncertainty for another year of uncertainty. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be an interesting trip, But yeah, you're right, Charles. You can live in a place for so long, but don't even at least make out time to enjoy the necessities as well as the activity of the city itself. So yeah, I can agree.
So true.
Yeah, I can agree.
It really is. It's amazing at the end of the day what we miss out on because we can't be able to do that because of our work lifestyles and all those things.
We don't have a work-life balance.
Yeah,
that's one thing I always, we've been trying to with whatever generation with this new generation. Everybody wants a work-life balance. Right. Everybody wants to be able to have a job but to live their lives too. But then
so
hey. I always say it boils down to the American people. What do you want? Do you want to just complain and have somebody rule over you, or you want to have some control over your life? And that's where the vote comes into play, which everybody hates to admit.
Right.
But when you live in a system where your voice counts, you got to make it count. Yeah. But if you're gonna sit there and just have somebody else tell you when to get up, what to wear, what to eat.
Yeah.
Then it comes with the territory of you not having a work-life balance. And a lot of us are now living that. We're not living that American dream of having a work-life balance.
Well,
we're not. We
don't. And then you kind of leading us into our first kind of like our first video. Talking about that because it's really, it's all about the political system is the reason why we don't have that. The way things are done it's capitalism is part of it. The way the government is ran, and capitalism gets right into where the government and it becomes very a very political thing on the job. So offering a work-life balance, please. What is that? You're not supposed to have that. You're supposed to be at work. If you're at work, you take 2 hours to go home and whatever you need to do, come on back to work again. And not get paid for it. That's the sad part, and it seems well, of course, it is like you would say, kind of a reverse slavery method of an idea here is like you get more work out of people and pay them less, or you start taking away from them to compile so much into them, on a day-to-day basis, and they're not getting paid their worth for the work that they do on a day-to-day basis, So it's kind of that reverse slavery type of method, that's out there. One of the things before we get into the video, this one we kind of jumped ahead. Wanted to kind of celebrate the Peanuts, for this holiday season. Again, we opened a couple shows with that. It's those songs by Vincent DiCarlo are just such a great jazz album. That was the backdrop of the Peanuts and things like that. And this year, typically on X, they did a lot of tributes to Peanuts, things like that, different little captions. So we got a few of those shows about. So we're very encouraging. So if you guys never watched Charlie Brown Christmas, go back and watch it. It was started when I was a kid. The year over and all that time. So it was a good way to to finish out this year with Charlie Brown Christmas and this game. But moving on back to a particular point. So first video is just kind of take as to what has happened to the Democratic Party at this particular point. That was just right on the part what you were saying.
Look at this comment.
Here we go.
When I say it pissed me off so bad, oh my gosh. It says, if Obamacare can't survive without subsidies, it shouldn't exist. Lord, the ignorance is loud. See, this is what happens when people don't understand how America actually works. Everything in this country, and I do mean everything, is subsidized by the government. You just don't realize it because the things you benefit from don't come with a stigma attached. Let's talk facts. Big oil. The U.S. government hands fossil fuel companies over $20 billion a year in subsidies. The same companies posting record profits while we pay $4 a gallon at the pump. Corporate farming. Agribusinesses rake in tens of billions of dollars annually in crop insurance bailouts and price supports. That's why your milk and corn stayed affordable before Trump's tariff policies. Home ownership, that sweet mortgage interest tax deduction, that costs taxpayers $30 billion a year. That's a housing subsidy for the middle and upper class. And that's just the highlight reel. Add defense contractors, airline bailouts, student loan guarantees, all subsidized by Uncle Sam. So miss me with the fake outrage about Obamacare. You don't hate subsidies. You just hate when they help somebody you don't like. Or maybe you are just too uninformed to have any commentary on the issue at all. If we can subsidize oil, corn, and corporations, we can damn sure subsidize healthcare. Obamacare isn't the problem. Ignorance is.
92% girl power redefined.
What you think about that, Charles?
I hate to say this, but she's so spot on. I get so tired of hearing ignorant people speak. And I've been saying this, and this is the crazy thing about it. I grew up in a family that have always been politically savvy. When we had, I'm going to tell my age, we had one television. So we all gathered around that television, grown-ups and children. And I would be privy to hearing the grown-ups talk about the government, Martin Luther King, civil rights and so forth. So I was able to pull in information that most people weren't privy to. And with that being said, society as a whole, and I just had this conversation today, yesterday, the day before, and the day before that. Society has changed, and the dynamics of it has come a full circle to a point that where we are not, and I hate to say this, we are ignorant to what the facts are. Political policies dictate our lives totally. You wear a seatbelt because of political policies. You stop at a stoplight because of political policies.
Mm-hmm.
You go to school because of political policies. You take vaccinations because of political policies. You do all of this because of politics. And people get caught up in this thing. I don't watch the news because it's depressing. But damn it, you don't pay attention to life. It's just how that is. If you don't pay attention to news, you don't have to watch it 24/7. But if you at least don't acknowledge the fact that that is your everyday life and it affects you, then you're ignorant to the fact.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny. I had somebody tell me today, we had a gas leak that had ruptured somewhere near Porter Ranch.
Yeah.
Some days was this past week. And nobody knew about it up there in Simi Valley.
What?
Mm-mm. Nobody knew about it up there in Simi Valley. Now, what if there would have been a big ass explosion?
Wow.
They would have known nothing about it. They wouldn't know where it came from. I mean, the saddest thing about what you just said, Charles, is that really nobody really watches the news and nobody really cares, but they'll go on Twitter. They'll go on Twitter and get their information from Twitter all day, every day, and believe that. But see, the saddest thing about the media right now, because I even said this to somebody this morning, I think I mentioned it to you. Right now, they're getting an ass whooping right now, not only by the public, but by the president. And the saddest thing about them is that they, for many years, have did just the injustice of salacious news towards people who really gave a damn about humanity. Mm-hmm. Now you got this man in the White House, and he's telling them to go, he's telling them to literally go outside and eat your lunch in front of world leaders and embarrassing them, calling them Miss Piggy, calling them Twiggy. It's sad, but going back to the topic at hand, politics is a stalker. If you are apolitical, hey, you just gonna just be ignorant all your life and stupid all your life, because it goes back to what Jill Scott said in that interview. Jill Scott, and I'm gonna tie it together. Jill Scott said this in the interview, and I thought this was very unique. She was talking about the situation when her little boy was growing up, and she was always having to go back on the road. And there was a situation where she had to leave, and he wouldn't let her go. And she had the babysitter come, but all of a sudden he just wouldn't just stop crying. So she told her, just go home. I'll get this all together. So what she did, she cut off everything in the house. Literally cut off everything in the house. So when the boy asked her, when she asked, what do you want to do? Let's go and play a game. Couldn't turn on the television. What do you want to eat? Can we have a grilled cheese sandwich? Couldn't turn on the stove. And she was like, well, and he was like, well, Mama, why can't we do any of this stuff? Because I have to go to work. And if I don't go to work, this stuff don't turn on. That little boy is the American people. Okay. The reason why you can't get what you can get out of your benefits, the reason why we're paying so much taxes out of our paychecks, the reason why we have all this terrible climate, the reason why we have all this homelessness, and the reason why you can't get the mentally ill and none of this stuff, because you're like a little boy. Wow. You have forgotten your responsibilities, and the responsibility is to get into the system and to make the system work for you. Right. And I'm so sorry that the rich has found a loophole to make the system work for them, because they are having to pay less taxes. Because to be honest with you, as much as you want to sit here and listen to your celebrities and say, I'm not apolitical, they are apolitical. And they're making their presence known in these times with this new regime that we got. They know what they're doing, and they're not hiding it anymore. So when is the working class people going to understand? I don't care about your biases against sexuality, about racism and all this stuff. If you have this type of hate, it comes with a hefty price, because at the end of the day, it ain't going to make your life no better. That's the problem.
Damn it, preach it, darling. Preach that shit. Preach that shit to them. Tell me what is going on, because that's the truth.
Right?
No, society has twisted itself so much, it's contorted into a how you say, the pretzel that they can't come up out of. The way society is right now, and we're so busy worried about everybody else's business instead of our own. Our children aren't learning. We're pushing. No Child Left Behind was the worst thing ever. George Bush puts that crap out here, and we just pushing them through. So that way we keep them moving. They're not learning anything. They don't do. We used to do what they call constitutional tests before we could graduate high school. I don't care if you straight A.
Yeah, you did.
We don't do that anymore. We just keep it moving, keep it pushing. Yep. And the sad part about it is we're so naive to the facts that we don't even understand that it affects. The biggest welfare queens are corporations, not the people. We're so busy worried about people getting $25, $100 a month more than they should. What about the corporations? They don't pay taxes. They're out here doing everything they can. They're not even contributing to society at all. Yeah. Jeff Bezos, these guys got billions, and they're not doing anything to help us at all. That's crazy.
Not at all. Not at all. It's kind of like when gosh, you said so much, but so much beautiful points about what you just said. And it's all true. I mean, we were dealing with some stuff today. We just kind of like throwing our hands up, as to situations and how things in life occur, and then all this, and then we were like, how did we figure this out? How do we not getting into all the details about that? But you feel so underweight of so much that's going on. That the energy that you need to break through, you can't even find. You know what I mean? We have our own energies of success that should be pulling something towards us and all that. But I feel honestly today, right now, I feel like that energy is just something. It's just they're trying to pour water on a fire that needs to be ignited and continue to grow. You know what I'm saying? Personally. And I feel like somebody's right there with a hose right now. Every time I get a little smart, they want to put it out. They want to put it out. Some more form, fashion, even like our jobs, even like that situation. There's always somebody wanting to take you down rather than elevating you to be a better point. Yeah. That's one what you're saying. Now, some of y'all watching, I know we had like almost 400 people watching a minute ago, and y'all ran and did something else. Okay, sit right here and listen to this conversation, which is a year in review. But there are things that you need to be finding out going into 2026. Because if you carry the same shit that you had over 25 without no mindset, you ain't going nowhere. This country ain't going nowhere at the end of the day. You know, it's not. Because if you're not, look, we started out talking about the calendar. Yes, it's the Mayans' opportunity there. We know that the calendar year necessarily doesn't happen at, the time the clock ticks down and all that. But it is a point of reference. You know what I'm saying? It is a point of reference to say that maybe my mindset's got to change about the things that I'm doing. And it's exactly what she was talking about on that video. What are we doing? What are you going to continue allowing? Obamacare is not the problem. The people that's trying to be over Obamacare is the problem. They're the ones that every time an opportunity to fire sticks up, they throw water on it. Okay? We can honestly maybe say the Republicans, but you know what? Democrats are just as responsible as Republicans in this. And they cannot get off by not being in a position that they should have been in all along. Yeah. There's no I'm just using, I know she's retired, there's no Nancy Pelosi on a commercial like that plastic Barbie trying to get everybody scared to leave the country. Nancy should have been on the same thing. Nancy could have got up and made a commercial and including the Democratic idea back to something on the forefront. Hakeem Jeffries could have had his ass up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are their commercials combating what Trump is doing? Where are they? And what's the name that came up on our TV? What's that boy name that came on?
Y'all know, have y'all noticed something that I've been noticing in these little CNN pundit type of conversations? You notice that a lot of people are denying them ever being part of the Democratic Party right now. Mm-hmm. You know, and I mean, I'm not even being funny. There'll be a situation where you'll have a conversation with, there might be a debate, and you have this Republican pundit or MAGA, whatever you want to call them right now, saying, well, y'all Democrats, and they'll say, well, I'm not a Democrat.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, denying.
It's like, so it's more. I'm noticing that more and more as I'm watching this Abby Phillips, whatever platform that's on CNN or whatever. I'm not Democrat. I'm an independent. So it's telling me that there is a weakness in that party where at the end of the day, the Democrats, and I don't, it's getting ridiculous that they don't even have a stronghold or have a connection or nobody guiding that party.
Go ahead, Charles.
Can I chime in? On this? Let me say this. And this has bothered me for the last almost 20 years. Wow. Is that, yes, the Democratic Party is taking this for granted. But the problem is the Democratic Party has never taken anything away. The Republican Party has always taken away, subtracted away from our rights, everything. But we're mad at the Democrats because they don't do anything, but we don't condemn the Republicans because they take stuff away. What is I'm still trying, and the Democrats are so busy kumbayaing, we're not going to. Merrick Garland drug his feet for years without taking Trump to court. He prosecuted the janitor before he even went to Trump. And that has nothing to do with what went on. He sat back and drug his feet because why? Because the Democrats are always trying to be the better people. When they go low, we go high. That is such BS. It drives me crazy. And then the Republicans are up front. I'm going to take this away. And then we don't say anything about it because we feel like, well, hey, the Democrats didn't do nothing about it. Damn it. Fight back. Say something to the Republicans who are taking your things away. They're trying to take
relations is terrible, Charles.
Yeah, birthright citizenship. Think about this. People. If they take birthright citizenship away, what does that mean for us as Black folks? That means that even though we were slaves and came here and we against our will, we have no rights. And we're not even paying attention to that. I was telling people when they were doing the Hispanics saying, let's do the immigrants. I was like, the next thing they're going to do is us. No, they're talking about them. I was like, well, they went to the Haitians. So how do you distinguish between Haitians and Black people? You can't. We're all the same. So once you get the brown and Black people under the thumb of the government, what can you do? There's nothing you can do. And people are so busy going, but they're talking about the crooks. You're a crook because of your color and your ethnicity. Stop saying that crap about they're only looking for the crooks. What's those people? I voted for Mr. Trump. I voted for Mr. Trump. And now her husband is gone. And she's going, I don't understand why they took my husband away. Dumbass, they did that because you didn't pay attention to what they were doing.
That's right.
I don't get it. I truly don't. And then we're so Black folks. I hate when I hear people say, I don't watch the news because it's depressing. Well, damn it. it's depressing because they're doing stuff to you. You need to pay attention. I just don't want to watch it because it makes me sad. Well, what are you going to say when they start shipping your ass out?
Okay. All right.
There you go. I mean, to be honest with you, like I'm like with Charles with the frustration. The sad is we're gonna have to wake up. We're gonna have to wake up to this foolishness, but it's gonna go. But as I keep reiterating, the Democrats have a bad PR.
Right.
They have an awful PR. They need to get the old guard off and get some new, fresh people in to make things happen, to make things work. But the saddest thing about, the only thing I will say is that at the end of the day, there has to be some level of evidence. There got to be some level of tangibles. You notice, and I'm going to leave it here, how, and I said this, when Trump went into D.C. and cleaned up D.C., and when he sent people into Memphis, he was showing the American people what he was able to do. I was saying even before he kept doing all this, we live in L.A. We live in L.A. Newsom, I hate to bring him up, but he's trying to run for president right now. If he wants to show the nation what he is able to do as a governor, he has to get, something has to be something tangible for us to see what he can do. Right. And I hate to say it, Americans, they won't understand unless you show them what is possible. Because if you're talking in graphs and numbers and percentages, and they're not seeing it, that's a problem. That's a problem for the Democrats. The Democrats want to say, well, and I understand. Those who pay attention understand. But those who don't pay attention will tell you in a heartbeat, I don't see it. If ads ain't going down, I don't see it. That's the problem.
So the problem is that they don't see it and they don't pay attention to the opportunities that are out there because they don't want to. Just like I said a minute ago, I've sat here and watched the numbers go up and down on the show today. You sit in and Charles see them too at this particular point in time. There was 300 people that chimed in when we started tonight. Okay, where'd you go? Because the truth and the responsibility is that you don't want to deal with it. Okay, you want to hear about all the bullshit that's going on out there. That's fine.
Well, let's talk about Nicki Minaj. That'll bring them back.
Yeah, let's
talk about Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. That'll bring them back. That'll bring them all the way back.
Oh, excuse me about a new billionaire. Okay. I mean, that's the hottest thing on every social media. Now, I'm not knocking the hustle. Now, okay, at the end of the day, because I do believe she worked for it. But like I put out on the post, that we got to go on. I put out on the post and said, that's great. She worked hard for it. But guess what? Why did you pay her to be able to do that? Where's your billions? Why are you not building a $1 billion empire, but you celebrate her? Celebrate yourself. Get started you a business. Be on the next level to become a billionaire. Don't worry about how much Beyonce and Jay-Z got. You ain't got none of it. You struggling to pay your house note, car note, whatever else that you paying. You ain't got the money to feed your kids, but you got money to get Beyonce. Wake the fuck up, y'all. It's the year end. You're getting ready to start 2026. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, and you still the mindset. You celebrating a woman that became a billionaire, and you ain't even a thousandaire. Now, some of y'all ain't even a 100 yet, $100-aire or a $1-aire. Okay? That's what you need to wake up about, people. Listen to what's going on up here. I hope y'all get a mindset 2026. But maybe black folk, we're gonna go on your road just a second. This next video, this is what people think of you, okay, and what you represent. Okay. Let me let you understand what's going on.
To a different country. Why are you staying here? Young 10-year-old, very intelligent-looking young lady, a black young lady who will not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in her classroom. She doesn't want to stand up because apparently she believes that black Americans need a lot more to be done in this country. You know what I believe, Cornell? And I know you supported her publicly. I think at 10 years old, she has no real understanding of what America is. So I wonder if her parents have sat her down and explained what Americans have given their lives, white, black, red. It doesn't make any difference. They stood and they fought and they died for this country, and she doesn't want to do anything to honor them?
She comes from a family of military service members. Her father's is a retired military service member also, who served this nation well with great dignity.
Good.
Her mother's a very intelligent woman. What white people need to understand
is that, white people?
Yes, please. Let me explain. That national anthem was written by Francis Scott Key. a slave owner who demonized and hated black slaves and black people. Go research the 3rd verse where he says, there's no refuge in this country for the hireling or the slave. Both should be turmoil to the grave.
How's your parents doing?
This is a man
Are they successful?
that promised turmoil for black people to the grave. Would you ask Jewish children to say a pledge to a German anthem that disrespects Jewish people?
If they're
No, you
living
would
in
not.
Germany,
No,
sure.
you would not.
Well, sure.
That disrespects Jewish people?
Then
No,
why
you would not.
you certainly can kneel down. In America, you have the right to do that.
America looked at the same way at Rosa Parks when she refused to get up and give up her seat to a white man on the bus. But history vindicated her. History vindicated her. America demonized Harriet Tubman for freeing slaves from slavery, but history vindicated her. So I say to that young girl, you stand strong, stand up, and stand for what you believe in. And to all of those who are too coward to do it, don't get in that young girl's way. Others like her, support that young girl.
What would you like her to say to the men and women who have fought for this country like I ran into over the weekend? The black men and women who fought for this country, and some who gave their lives.
And ask the black men and women who served America in its military, like in the Independence War. We helped America get it, and we were still slaves afterwards. Ask those in Vietnam who gave their war on Vietnam battlefields, but then came back and was called niggers in their own country. We have fought in America's war, and we've never been given the justice and the due process of everybody else in this nation.
Then why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here if you don't like it?
Let me tell you why. Because the country belongs to Indians. You white folks stole it from them, raped and robbed their people. This not your country. You all came over here and stole it and beat the hell out of them. So this not your country.
It was my country.
You all need to go home.
If you're
you all need to go back where you came from.
If you don't like it, why don't you pack up and go?
Let the Indians decide who should pack up and go. And I guarantee you black folks will stay, and you all will be on the first damn boat leaving here. So don't try that.
Why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here, young 10-year-old?
You know, that ain't nothing but gaslighting that man was doing. And then all of a sudden stay in 2016. Let's not talk about the past, which is the go-to to just discount everything that has happened and how it has affected a certain sector of people. But then going back to Beyonce, what you just said, that they named her a billionaire. Now, did you just hear what that man just said? What that 10-year-old girl, is her parents successful? Is her parents successful? You know, that is the go-to to tell black people, y'all all like to play victim when y'all in this country can be billionaires and gajillionaires. They don't understand that when you name, and this is what I keep telling people sometimes, that Beyonce, great, kudos, she made billionaire status, but there's always a motive behind calling somebody a blackness a billionaire. And it is always this, I would say, to be honest with you, on a conspiracy level, they setting her up. Really. In the times of Trump, if I was Beyonce, that would have been like a no moment. Nobody needs to be counting my pockets. Not in these times. They sent her up. Really, because I feel like, you know what, they're going after. Can we talk about this? They're going after Jay-Z. They're going after him. They're going to go after him, and they're gonna go after him through his wife, sort of. But they're going after him. But you know,
tell me why Abercrombie and Finch didn't get the, and they confessed to the sex trafficking and the damn sexual assault of young men within their business, and nobody talks about it. It's like it didn't mean anything, and they didn't even get any jail time, no fines or anything. But yet you're talking about puppy, baby oil, and consenting adults. I don't understand why there's such a difference in the spectrum. There are people doing so much more, and look at the guy from Seventh Heaven. He molested children throughout the whole time of the series, and nobody said a word, and they're still on TV. But yet Bill Cosby has taken his show off the air because why? He had a time that people were all doing free love and passing drugs around, and now he's a villain. But they're not talking about Seventh Heaven.
So
he molested children.
Allegedly. Allegedly. It's not alleged. Charlie Sheen spreading HIV and all that stuff. Come on now. Make it make sense. And then writing a book about it. And talking about it on daytime television.
Yes, he has a special about it. And nobody said, hey, man, the hypocrisy. That's what bothers me, the hypocrisy of it all. That's what bothers me the most.
I know. But the fact that that man goes up there and gaslight that black man, and the saddest thing about that is the fact that you have a bunch of palm-colored people who could give a damn.
Right.
Regardless of the truth, it doesn't matter to them. Those and listen, and those who might take offense to him, I'm so sorry. A hit dog will holler.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we all live in this country. We know the truth. You know the truth, but you just don't give a damn. And that's why I get to a point. I stop explaining shit. I stop explaining history to people who just don't care because they do know the history. They just don't. Yep. They just don't. It's just not. It doesn't phase. It just. They don't feel no. They don't feel no waste tired about the fact that this is what it is. To them, they just don't want to see it for what it is.
I think the history platform is maybe the transitional point too. Yeah, we have gotten so what's that word? We're disconnected from history. I use that term. It's not the word I wanted to necessarily use, but in its all inception. And because we don't research it, we don't take the opportunity to accept it or be the individual that counts for the change for the next future because of the history that we have learned. Mm-hmm. And that is this country in general. Now we have become to a point where we'll get rid of history because you got a man that's trying to do it. You know what I'm saying? He's wiping away, all forms of black related history that has been done in this country. We had a video it was a couple weeks ago where it was celebrating all of the black entrepreneurs that were that were here in America. But most y'all don't know about these people. I bet you this at the end of the day, whoever's watching this point in passing, can you tell me who the major thing that you benefit from keeping you safe on a street area intersection? You don't even know that was done by a black man.
But he has people who are pushing this agenda too.
No, I understand.
The Mothers of Liberty, the evangelicals, all the neo-Nazis, all of these people are Proud Boys. They're pushing.
They want that.
They want to rewrite this history.
Right. And you can't do that. I'm not debating you. You cannot rewrite the history because history, regardless if it's documented or not, in terms of that, it's still in the minds of the people that choose to accept it. So that at the end of the day, history is part of the universe. At the end of the day, that's like saying that the universe didn't exist, as a historical point. It may be burned, like wasn't Hitler took all the books in the middle of the square to burn and make a statement to the to the Jewish people about their history or whatever, so you figured he would burn it away. You can't do that. You can do that, but at the end of the day, if it's embedded in your heart and your mind, it ain't going anywhere. And there was something else that somebody said about the knowledge that you have within, there's not the knowledge nobody can ever take from you. At the end of the day, you don't have to quote it. You've been in a position you don't have to quote, but whatever you gain in knowledge, nobody will ever take away from you. That part of it. And I think the investment that we should be doing as individuals in gaining the knowledge and things and reading and studying and going back at these points while they're available, people don't do it because they're lazy. This is going to speak to the laziness. It's going to take a shift to the spiritual side of things. But this is the last point. 2 videos basically. It's going to shift to a little bit of a spiritual side. But the reason why this is that because if we don't understand the spiritual ramification, then we don't understand the political platform that we live in. But we want to keep the idea of the separated church and state because of bamboozlement by religion. Okay, but you can learn about yourself through your spirituality and where it comes from, and then you are able to process the things of how politically systems are done and how religion has been weaponized. For the fact of what you don't know.
It's being weaponized right now. Yeah, I know. They're just starting a war near Niger right now.
Right.
And going back to that video, they're talking about, well, why don't you leave this country? Why don't you go back to your country of origin? Why don't y'all stay out of Africa for once?
Well, that's a whole.
That's my thing. Y'all are already striking and attacking some parts of Nigeria. But then you're going to tell us to go back when you are already there doing some doing some devilment, basically. Right. On the verge of somebody else's religion,
right,
or whatever that they're doing over there. It makes no sense. But keep going.
No, you're fine. But it just speaks to where we're going with the next point of this video, in that because of how religion has weaponized power and control, where it starts from the origin of it and why. Now, honestly, and I'm really glad to see, especially on all these social media platforms, that religion is becoming a top, but spirituality is becoming another one top, because people are waking up. They're waking up to who they are as people, as individuals. Here we go.
Oh, hey, did you know that hell? Oh, hey, did you know that hell, the devil? Oh, hey, did you know that hell, the devil, and demons are actually pretty new ideas? By the 4th century, Constantine, this guy again, and Theodosius had turned Christianity into the Roman Empire's religion. Fear was the tool of control and obedience. Enter Augustine of Hippo. He centered the doctrine: eternal bliss for the faithful, eternal damnation for the wicked. Wicked meaning basically everyone else. The fiery eternal hell was constructed over time by twisting Jewish metaphors, Greek myths, Augustine's theology, and medieval imagination. This fucking tractor. Shut up! It's so loud. Is it not loud for you? It's loud for me. And a terrifying place needs a terrifying ruler, right? Satan got blown up into a cosmic enemy. Centuries later, in the Middle Ages, the church gave him horns, goat legs, a scary face, imagery borrowed straight from old pagan gods of nature, fertility, and wildness. To pagans, those gods weren't evil. They were life-giving. The church flipped them into villains so people would fear what was once sacred. Then they gave him demons. The Greek word daemon just meant spirit. Christianity rebranded every spirit as demon. Anything mystical, ancestral, earth-based, or simply different could be shoved into the demonic category. A great example is Lilith. She is a spirit in the old Sumerian and Mesopotamian goddess tradition known as wind and night spirits, called Lilito. Later in Jewish folklore, this became Lilith, described as Adam's first wife who refused to submit. She represented the archetype of woman, sovereign, wise, powerful. But instead of honoring that, later writers turned her into a baby-killing demon. Lilith's story was distorted. Why? Because if women saw themselves in Lilith, they'd see a mirror of their own power, equality, strength, and freedom. Rewriting her as a monster was a warning. Don't be like her. Fear was burned into the nervous system. So we ask, why choose the underworld to demonize? The womb itself is the underworld, the dark place where life begins. Women have always carried this wisdom in their bodies. Across cultures, it was women, goddesses, and priestesses who ruled the underworld. Not because it was punishment, but because descent and rebirth are feminine knowledge. We've always been the guides. And that's exactly why empire and church had to erase us. Because if people remembered that descent is natural, cyclical, transformative, they wouldn't need the church to save them. So they twisted the story, turned the womb shameful, and turned the underworld into hell, and completely erased the goddess traditions and wisdom so women didn't have a mirror of their wholeness. So no, hell as eternal torture isn't real. The devil was borrowed and twisted. Demons didn't start out evil, and women like Lilith were rewritten as monsters so we'd fear our own power. The only thing that's real here is fear. And once you see how the story was built, you can finally break the spell. Super interesting.
So funny. I was watching a Jubilee, one of those Jubilee debates, and they had atheism versus religion or Christianity. And one of the atheists asked about the fact that if God is so omnipotent and so powerful, why would he create the devil? Why would the devil even exist? If that was the fact, if he was that powerful, why would he allow so much evil in the world? And the one thing that they came up with was the fact that they set up and told the lady that, the devil was Lucifer and he was the angel of the Department of Music. Now I don't know where they got the Department of Music from. I don't understand where they got that from. It never even said in the Bible that he was the department of anybody, any damn thing. And the fact is that, the other lady said, God give us a choice. He gives us free will to choose. And the devil chose to try to overrun heaven, and he got kicked out. But at the end of the day, if he was that powerful and so omnipotent, why would he allow these types of forces against something so powerful? It makes no sense. But then that is the situation with society.
So that means God is he's not either all-knowing or not all-powerful. He's one or the other.
Okay.
Because there's nowhere in the hell you can have a devil if he's not all powerful or all knowing. Because if he's all knowing, he knew that was going to happen. If he's all powerful, he could have overridden him anytime and said that's not going to work. That's why and this is just me.
Right.
This is why I take the Bible as just something, as a power structure, just to control us. It has no relevance to life as a whole. It has so many contradictions and so many misrepresentations of what life should be. And until we stop being sheep, we'll never get past where we are.
Well, Charles, the Christians conflict themselves when they would tell you in church you never question God. But even in the Bible, Job questioned God. Jesus even questioned God on the cross. Why would you sit up there and tell me never to question God when there are parables where God was questioned in the Bible?
Because Master told you not to question God, and you had to accept what Master said to the person that was in the least. Therefore, it was passed down to generations. I'm sorry. And it's been passed down to typically in the Black church. This is why you have the mentality that you do of not understanding the separation where separation is needed to be. This is why we don't know who we are. We'll get into this in the next video. We don't know who we are. And who we are is not by the color of your skin. Let's just establish that's an ethnicity that you were born into, and it does have ramifications. I'm not, not denying that at all, because it's an origin of a people. But at the end of the day, if you knew who you are going to that origin of people, then you can speak power and truth to that origin of people. But when you don't know who you are, you find and run, and you run and find these escapes or ideas to buy into. So therefore, religion comes in and takes over your whole being.
But you know what? But get this drift. This is the reason why we're in this situation that we are in society, where the ones that have the money and the status and whatever you want to call have all this prestige, because religion has put into our psyche that God is omnipotent. And what does that look like? That looks like diamonds and all this other stuff, if that makes sense. Why we are the weak ones, the people are the weak ones. God is, we are weak, but God is strong. But then you will have people who will put themselves up there as pedestal, making them look like gods. Now, this is the situation that we're in right now with this president. And with most presidents, but this president in particular wants to be God already. Yes, and the fact that you have Christians right now, evangelical Christians, who are supporting this rhetoric because they need an agenda to push, but they need for you to bow down to Trump. So to get whatever you can get closer to God, they pass them now. They talk about Sharia law all day, every day, but I'm seeing more of a Sharia Christian law that's been passed over the land for some strange reason to instill fear into the population.
Absolutely.
God, I thought, was not based on the spirit of fear. Right. See, this is another conflict. God, I thought, was not based on fear, but I think the Christians, and especially these evangelicals, they are so busy pushing fear into the American people that it does, and that could produces control, which is really a contradiction to Christianity and a contradiction to the teaching of Jesus.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense, but you know what? To each his own.
Right. Well, I just want to submit to the point that to each his own. I know you're coming from that point. The thing about it is, like I started out our conversation, we have another video which is going to get a little bit this gentleman's deeper into the idea of giving his take on everything. But there is a great awakening. There's a great shift that's going on, and you're finding that people are shifting from rather than shifting to, because it's an inevitable call in the universe, for you to step up to the plate as an individual for yourself. And I'm telling you, people are waking up left and right in here, dismissing all of this rhetoric that's out there. You're going to have to sort of keep pushing that stuff at the beginning, but those are the ones that are drastically falling. The man went on to the side. One of the drastic denials that had ever been, in my opinion, in Christianity was Jimmy Swagger. He's on the other side now, but his son out here trying to push that same agenda and trying to make up for what that man did. All right, really? Come on. But somehow the evangelicals kind of swept his shit all up under the rug and never talked about it anymore. But you get caught with a hooker in the hotel on record with your pants down. Really?
I am only human.
And then you. Oh yeah.
Only human.
I failed you. Oh my God! I said, man, when that happened, you probably remember when that happened. Didn't it happen in the '80s, Charles? He came forward trying to be the apologetic one for the evangelicals at that time. I'm like, Nick. Anyway, about to call something else. Get out of here. All right. And I remember my mama was watching that quick story. Then we're gonna go on to the next video. And she was saying, oh, because she started to follow him a little bit because of what he was saying. I said, Mom, what are you doing? What are you doing? That man is no good. Absolutely no good. I said he is lying through his teeth about everything. I said, and watch, he gonna fall. I tell about 2 months later, he failed. I said, Mama told you. You know, I said, you got to stop. Let me keep, I keep getting deep into this stuff. But anyway, I'm going to just got to tell you a little bit more about the awakening. All right, here we go.
I think it's so funny how every religion says God is love, and yet they somehow all hate each other. And what I'm coming to realize after looking into different beliefs and different philosophies, there are thousands of religions out there, and they all claim to have the truth. Now, before you go getting triggered, I'm not here to say who's right and who's wrong, but from everything I've seen, this is my theory now. If the world were to practice more Eastern philosophy, I think we'd all be in a much better place. Because what I'm slowly realizing is Western religions, in my opinion, they've all been designed to control. They all separate you from God. They tell you that you were born unworthy, that you need someone else to speak to the divine for you. It makes you obey out of fear instead of helping you understand who you really are. And then you end up living in guilt, like waiting for permission to feel forgiven. And I'm sorry, tribe, that's not freedom. That is mental slavery. And now the funny part to me is that Western religions, they all spend more time fighting each other than actually practicing peace. It's a constant argument over who's right, whose sky daddy is the real one, whose book is most divine, whose prophet was right, who was the last one. And they're all theories that none of them can be proven. And remember, a strong belief alone does not make it true. Ask Santa Claus. But yet they go to war over their differences while preaching love and unity. And you'll never see that in any Eastern philosophy. And what I'm seeing is that Eastern philosophy isn't built on being right. It's simply built on being aware. It doesn't push a single God or claim a monopoly on truth. It teaches harmony, not hierarchy. Eastern philosophy says the divine is within you. It's not about belief. It's about awakening. It's not about guilt. It's about balance. Not so much about worship, but understanding that you reach peace through awareness, not fear. So now when I'm looking at the world, I see it a little bit clearly. Yeah, the West built systems of control. Meanwhile, the East built paths to inner peace. The West says, obey or be punished. The East says, wake up and be free. Now, I'm not saying that one side has all the answers, okay? But if humanity lived more like the East teaches, present, conscious, compassionate, I think we stop fighting over names, flags, and sky daddies. We stop dividing over who's chosen, and maybe for once, we'd understand that peace comes not from proving who's right, but it comes from remembering who we are. Remember, tribe, the goal is always to leave people better than we found them. And I'm just dropping these gems on you and hoping to make you a better person. Until tomorrow, namaste.
Okay. But even Jesus, to be honest with you, he even walked away. He didn't have to convince anybody. That's my thing with people, is that you're trying to play God like you know God. That's the problem with Christians with me. It's like at the end of the day, you think you know God through the scripture, but you ain't God. You don't know what he or she or whatever that thing, whatever that's going up there, what is going on spiritually. You only know what's going on through verses. And it just doesn't make sense to sit there and prove to me why God is powerful. It should be all, you should be walking that walk regardless. And I hate to say it.
God don't play about me. He don't play about me. I hate it so much. God don't play about me. I'm like, what made you so special? Why you always above everybody else? Right. He don't play about me. What made you so special that he don't worry about the rest of us? That drives me crazy.
wall, basically.
Well, historical standpoint of view, for those of us, for those you can get that, and I'll be a lot of Charles. I didn't interrupt you. Go ahead, Charles. Make your point. I didn't realize you're making one.
No, you weren't interrupting. We were having technical difficulties. Right. I'm just saying, if we're all here to be with each other, why are we separating each other? One's better than the other. And when I hear people say that phrase, God don't play about me, but what about the rest of us? Why he don't play about you? The rest of us are in this thing together. Why are you so separate and so special that he don't play about you? What about us? And that was just my thing. It kind of drove me crazy about how people get that. I don't know.
But people can be very selfish with their intimacy with God in a way. It's like at the end of the day, we're all supposed to be his children, but it seems like you want to be his number one child. And it comes also when you might explain your relationship with him. I don't know. To be honest with you, it can come off, everything comes off a little contradictory with certain religious folk.
Well, okay, it's kind of one of the things, and again, for those take the time to study. As I said earlier, I thought I was interrupting Charles, that I'm finding myself more on social media offering elevation. I don't say correction, because, I don't feel like I should be correcting you about your belief. I can enhance your opportunity. It's up to you what you want to correct, and I may come very strong at your opinion, and share something about it, but that's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to hopefully enlighten in something that you haven't done. But your enlightenment has to start with you. The first thing you do is got to pick up any other book besides what you think the Bible is, number one. Okay, let's just start with that. I mean, I got people debating right now and don't even know scripture. You want to quote stuff, at the end of the day. My advice to them, I said, first of all, I would suggest you go study history. All right, then come back with a collective opinion. But please don't say anything on this platform if you don't have the foreknowledge about saying anything about it. The other thing is that this hierarchy opportunity. I mean, the hierarchy it is rolled over into so much of it in society. If I can just break this down, hopefully in maybe 2 minutes at tops. Okay, our lives have been so formulated on hierarchy. All right. Oh, yeah. And hierarchy, it transcends from, let's go to the business. Okay, you got your CEO, you got your president, you got your VPs, you got your downline managers and everything else. And that hierarchy is always been put in a place for anything that was not on that level is to be in a subservient position. Okay, so you can never question hierarchy because guess what? They're in that rank of the hierarchy. That's why you say, well, you can't question your manager because your manager's supposed to know. So this hierarchy has been the social platform. Basically, it's the history of man. But okay, we had a little technical difficulty going on there, guys. Sorry about that. But religion has utilized that platform as a level of control. Number one is that our first thing is that we always look for God being up here. Okay, it's always been projected up here. God has not been up here; He's been right here the whole time. But when you realize that the hierarchy is already within you, nothing else has any power or authority over you. As I said, the technical, something don't want me to get this word out there tonight. All right, at this point, put it on record. That's why this technical difficulty comes, because it's a point of those that are going to pass by and be able to understand this. The hierarchy is within you. You can go no higher than yourself. Okay. And nobody else should ever be placed in a position any higher than who you are. So like the gentleman was saying, and this is why the Eastern religions, typically the Hindus, they automatically go into a conversation recognizing the hierarchy. Oh my God, this is good. They go and recognizing the hierarchy because they're in their terminology is namaste. Namaste simply means that the God in me, the spirit in me, recognizes the God in you. Okay, so the hierarchies recognize each other, so then therefore they have a cohesive balance. And then they can speak to one another because they are right there together. Scripture says that if you want to take it this way, Scripture says, count it not strange that you are considered equal with Jesus in God. How do we have dismissed that? Because guess what? Somebody else out there wanted to take the hierarchy from you. Okay? They didn't want you to believe in your greater self or understanding your greater self. As you go into 2026, move to your greater self. Okay? Your great, let me speak that way. I have one more video that's going to speak to that in just a second because it's time for us to wrap things up. But believe in your greater self. Move into that realm. This is where the hierarchy is. Nobody is over you. God himself didn't put himself over you. He put himself within you so that you would be even with him in every situation. How can you speak to the existence of the planet and what you're doing if it's not, the power's not already there within you? Tear down that Christian crap. Let it go. Okay, let it go and believe in and move into the destiny that you've been put into. We're going to make a point and we're going to move on.
I think you made the point. To be honest with you, you made the point right there. We just got to move into our destiny and find the God within us. But the saddest thing about you just can't listen to everybody else's situation with their spiritual whatever, because at the end of the day, I think some people, they just want to believe that let me just say this. It's just, you just got to follow your own path, basically.
Right. Your path is being revealed to you each and every day of your life.
You can't listen to everybody else.
True. You know, the God of our creation is speaking to you every day. What religion has is taught you not how to listen, not how to hear. And you're expecting to hear someone else tell you what you need to do with your life when it's already being revealed to you every day, if you would listen. Okay? But it does take a discipline to listen. It does take a point of meditation. It does take a time to just going within and hearing the voice that's already there. Because you will have your pathways together.
You beware of those who say, God told me to tell you. Beware of somebody who will come to you and say, well, God told me to tell you. You don't. No. I'm gonna you can keep that for yourself. Because we have God and me have a personal relationship. He would tell me himself or herself. Yes, but at the end of the day, I don't need for you to be the middleman, because I don't know what you're talking about.
You better say that.
So beware of those in this year. Do not have anybody come to you and say, well, God told me to tell you. You know, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Love it. I
don't know where it's coming from.
Charles, you want to add something before we move on real quick?
No, I just, Dallin makes a strong point, and I get with it. We get caught up in the semantics of it. That's basically how you can say it. And instead of the intellect or the knowledge, we don't question. Like you said earlier, JB, we don't question God, but that's not God we're questioning. We're questioning the teachings you're giving me that you claim you got from him.
Right. Okay. Okay. Can you say that again for the back people on the back row?
Hey, for y'all back there,
because somebody in the back row just didn't hear what you just said, and that was a great nugget right there.
It is not so much that we don't believe; it's the teachings that you claim you got from him that is the disillusioning us from where we should be. If we pay attention and understand where it came from, we have a better intellect of what it is we're learning, and we don't pay attention.
Absolutely. People on the back row, rewind the tape and hear that again. All right, because you missed some great nuggets right through here. Okay, at the end of the day, great nuggets. But let my brother here just share, put an encapsulation on what we are and what we should be dismissing. Hold on.
It's impossible to embody a higher frequency all the time, and here's why I say this. Because you need to dip down in the lower frequencies so you can see what parts of you need to be dealt with. What am I? I'm supposed to play in a basketball game and I'm going to score 50 points every single game? No, I need to have quote unquote bad games. Why? Because those bad games are showing me what I need to work on. They're showing me where my holes are. So instead of seeking to have this enlightened life where I live in peace and joy and kindness all the time, how about this? You enjoy that when you're living in that state, but when you dip down into the shame, the guilt, the unworthiness, when you go into that world, this is where your opportunity to grow is. So now you start to look at these situations as not something as negative, but here's my opportunity to learn just a little bit more about myself. And now that situation can be used for what it was actually cosmically, spiritually intended for, to help you to grow and stay at the level that you're trying to get at.
That's the truth. That's all I can say. That's the truth.
Absolutely. You know, and the invitation of life is the invitation, inviting in. Okay, becoming a part of the invitation. You know, he knows I'm such the big advocate about words. You know, and what they mean to us, and every word has a root meaning. Okay, and when we take the time to step back from what we're saying or listen to what we just said and find out what words we use in context of that, you know, we need to expand and explore the root of that word and what it means. Everything has just gotten been so passed by, so passe with words now at the end of the day. You just throw them all over the place, and we're not even paying attention to what's coming out of us. That's a whole other conversation for us. All right, won't go down that road tonight. But there's one thing I'm gonna do a shift right here real quick. I don't know if I saved his, and I was going to play with you guys maybe next week. This gentleman was on social media the other day, and maybe the video. I'll check anyway before we come back to close anyway. But he was taking the challenge of 2026 for himself to stop using filler words in his normal conversation. I'm a student. I love words. You know what I'm saying? You know I love words. You know, I did that because I'm ever trying to put them in my vocabulary or whatever. If I had the patience, I'd probably read the dictionary, you know, to have it a part of my life. But he was making a point as his 2026 pledge to himself was to not use filler words. We're all guilty of filler words. The and all of these societal words that we come up with to not take the time to pause in that half a second moment and to get our collective thought together.
Well, even Obama does it.
Well, no,
I hate to bring him. I hate to always use him, but he always does stuff like and which sometimes used to get on my on my grandma's nerves. It's like, come on out with it, you know.
But we tease about that, but yet at the same time, that made his auditory being very powerful when he came forward with something because he took that calculated time. You know, speech classes, they always said because you get thrown up under the bus if you got filler words going on when you're doing that, you know, in speech classes, and you know, remember. So my pledge to myself, you know, and to those, as I said, I'm putting the challenge out there for you guys to see this, you know, and to the gentleman that put out there, it really made a thought, because where do we let our words go so freely and not necessarily calculating on what we should be saying in a given situation? You know, we just throw them out there, and then we find those filler words to back that up because we think that if we don't have the immediate response that we're going to lose in the middle of the conversation.
Or it could be just limited vocabulary.
Well, that too.
Because on top of that, that comes from lack of reading. You know, the saddest thing about this new generation is that we have this thing called Audible, and it's okay you want to sit there and listen to somebody read a story to you, but then you are losing the muscle of vocabulary and memory, and also of learning how to pronounce and enunciate words.
This is true.
Because that's the way. You know what's so funny? Joan Crawford, one of my favorite actresses, she did not know even she did not even know new words unless she was reading scripts.
Wow.
She did not add on to her vocabulary. I mean, she did not know. Once she was learning a script, whatever movie that she was doing, Charles went to sleep. Okay, I'm so sorry. But other than that, though, that's how she figured out new vocabulary words. She learned the script, but she saw new words. She you know, underlined them and said, this is a word that I need to learn because I don't know what it is. And that's how she picked up on her, you know, on learning new words, what vocabulary. You know?
And that should be a practice for all of us. You know, I mean, people of color, typically our people of color have been the worst in terms of trying to learn, you know, properly.
But we ain't the only one.
But I know, but we're a representation of that because of what we look like, and that's my point.
That's what mainstream media said, and then we put it out there.
Well, we have, but then you look at the conversations that are going on this day and time with our young people. It's awful. You know, I mean, it really is. And then we have this group of my age group, unfortunately, that dismisses the proper opportunity of using, you know, proper English. You know, of course, there was a rhetoric created about that by somebody that I don't even want to mention that ended up calling us African Americans, which thank God we're moving to be becoming Black Americans, which we should have never left in the beginning. You know, but his rhetoric started to try to that, you know, to change our whole vocabulary. at one particular point in time, which was simply awful. At the end of the day. But that's a whole other conversation. Maybe we'll pick that up next year. No, we ain't going to revisit that. Anyway, encouragement today, guys, is look, life is too short. Yeah. Our focus should be on developing and making ourselves better. Okay. In everything that we do, we should be making ourselves better. It just should be our purpose. Instagram, I know we changed your view of us because we missed our brother on it for some reason. It had a technical difficulty, so the view changed. But you see us in half on Instagram. We're about to get off anyway. But hey, y'all. Anyway, so the idea here is, we skipped through. Actually, just left. We skipped through a lot that went on this year. And there was a lot that happened this year that went on. Yeah. Our year in review more so is that we touched on where things are very, very quickly. But the majority of this that we want to really encourage everyone about, and in its inception, is that go within. Okay, let go what has happened this year, whatever platform that you stood on, whatever you believed in, whatever the case may be. But we're about to brink on a new opportunity of something different for your life. Okay, take that seed, take that opportunity to go within. Be like Elphaba. Be like Elphaba. Okay, and let no limits keep you down. Let nothing can keep you down, and soar and defy the gravity that has been keeping you down. But in 26, soar. We thank you for being a part of Truth Behind the Truth this year. We have had such a wonderful time bringing to you what we thought, that would help you, in the course of your life and where things should be. Tune in. We'll be right back here next week celebrating the new year. We have special guests coming up for the next 2 months. I want to welcome my dear cousin. Next week will be our guest host for the month of January. Ms. Twana Hall Scott will be with us, talking about a lot of great things, great spiritual woman in that. So we're excited about her being a part of the team for the next month as well. So tune in. We will be here. I think I did find that clip of the gentleman just putting that challenge out there, selectively using words properly. Hopefully it is tonight. And we're out here. We love you guys. Have a great new year coming and be safe. And we will see you in 2026. All right.
This is the perfect example of being in a rush to use scripture and misusing it because you're treating it as a conclusion instead of an invitation. So first, let's make sure that we are on the same page and understanding that this chapter is Paul teaching Christ consciousness as principle, the organizing intelligence through which reality holds together. So let's look at this another way. They say through him all things were created. That just means existence unfolds through an ordering intelligence. And the irony is crazy to me because most of you place Jesus so far ahead as an object of devotion, you don't even recognize when the text is leveraging his name to explain you. But let me give you perspective. You cannot tell me God is powerful and put me inside of a belief system, because the need to tailor the infinite to one mind exposes the limit of the claim itself. Now take a look at this. Isn't it interesting that the grammar survives the theology? Look at how the verse still works when you swap the name for the function. It's clear. For through consciousness, all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. And in consciousness, all things hold together. Look at the difference between those verses. It's not making a religious demand. It's describing the exact same reality. The language is symbolic, but the function is identical. And simply put, through him names the medium through which form arises, and in him names the condition that keeps things coherent. This is exactly what you were describing when you were talking about consciousness. So for all of you who like to leverage this particular scripture over people, understand when a verse still holds without the figure, what you were worshiping was never the meaning.